Hi everyone. So today we're going to take a look at lesson 7.5. It's called Attributes of Shapes. This word attributes is going to be a very important vocabulary word that we're going to be looking at today. We're going to skip over mental math and fluency and we're going to go right into the math message. So the math message says, choose a block. Record everything you notice about your block. So in my toolkit, I have several blocks for you to take a look at. You're going to choose one of those blocks and you're going to write down everything that you notice about it. When you're done, press play. Welcome back. I hope you had a good time writing down as much as you know about the block that you chose. So I'm going to choose a block of my choice. This is the one I'm going to choose. And if I was writing down everything that I know about this block, I would say number one, that it's a circle, right? Because I know that circles are round. So I'm talking about its shape. Another thing that I know about this shape is that it's red in color, right? Because when I look up here, I see all these different colors for these shapes. So I have a circle that's red. Now, the last thing that I wrote down is that a circle has 0 sides and it has 0 corners, right? Because we said it's round. But guess what? There's more attributes that we can use to describe this shape. Let's talk about that word attributes because I said that was going to be a really important vocabulary word today. So attributes is simply a characteristic for a shape or a way to describe a shape. And then later on, we can use these attributes to sort these different shapes. So another attribute that I didn't mention yet, if you take a look down here, the size of my shape. So my shape can either be small or my shape can be large. When I look at my shape and I compare it to the circle that's over here, I would say that my circle is a large circle compared to the circle above it, which looks small, right? So far I know that I have a circle that's red, that's large, and that has 0 sides and 0 corners, right? The next thing I'm going to take a look at is its thickness. So if you notice, there's 2 different categories here. It can either be thin or it can be thick. Now, if I compare it to this square that's above it, I would say that my circle is thick compared to this square that's really thin, right? So if I'm going back over all of my attributes, I would say I have a circle that's red, that's large, that's thick, and it has 0 sides and 0 corners. So what I'd like you to do right now is think about your shape that you chose, and I want to see if you can add some more attributes to what you already have there. And if you have to make changes, you can do that as well. But again, I want you to think about the name of the shape, the size of it, the color of it, the thickness of it, and how many sides or how many corners does your shape have. When you're done, press play. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you were able to add some more attributes to what you already had for your shape, right? So I'm going to choose a different shape this time. I'm going to go with this one here. If I was to write down something about this block that I chose, I would say, and I'm keeping all those attributes in my head, I would say that this is a square, right? Because we know that squares have 4 sides, they have 4 corners. We also call them vertices. Can everybody say vertices, right? So they have 4 sides, 4 corners, and all 4 sides are the same length, right? So this is a square for sure. I can also say that this square is blue in color, right? If I'm giving it another attribute. I can also say that this square looks like it's large in size. I'm going to also say that this square is thin, like I talked about before. And I think that's about it, right? So I was able to name all of these attributes. Now it's time for the fun. I talked about how once we have realized all of the attributes for some of these blocks, we can now sort them, right? So we can do some fun sorting activities. So maybe I want to look at all of these shapes and sort them by color, right? So when I look at these shapes, I see that there are shapes that are blue, there are shapes that are red, and there are shapes that are yellow. So maybe I'll take all of those blue shapes and I'll group them together. And I'll take all of those red shapes and I'll group them together. And then I'll take those yellow shapes and I'll group all those yellow shapes together. It doesn't matter how thick they are or how thin they are because I wasn't talking about sorting them by their thickness, right? I just wanted to sort them by color. So I have a triangle, a square, and a circle that are all blue. I have a hexagon, a rectangle, and a triangle that are all yellow. And I have a circle and a hexagon that are red. Okay? Let's pick a different attribute that I can sort this by. Maybe I want to sort them by thickness this time, right? So when we look at thickness, we're looking at whether they're thick, like this hexagon, or whether they're thin, like this triangle and this square, right? So I'm going to move this circle over here because it's thick. This triangle is also thick. This rectangle is thin, and this hexagon is thin. So I have 4 shapes that are thin, and I have 4 shapes that are thick, right? Awesome. So you can do many different sorting activities with the different attributes for these shapes. Now, let's move on to another activity that we can do. It's a fun game that I'm pretty sure none of us have played yet, so I want us to take a look at it. It's called Stop and Go. Now, Stop and Go, if you don't know how to play, they actually give you the directions here. And it's a 2-player game, and it helps you to practice adding and subtracting 2-digit numbers. So the object of the game is for the Go player to try and get to 50 first. And guess what? The Stop player has a job too. The Stop player has to try and get the Go player all the way back to 0. So if the Go player gets to 50, he or she wins. If the Stop player gets the Go player to go all the way back to 0, then the Stop player wins. All right, so here's how you would do it. You would open up your activity kit, okay, and you would go to the toolkit. And you saw my stop and my go cards. I'm just going to show you exactly how you can get to those stop and go cards. So if you look here, we're going to go to the eTools, and we're just going to go down here. We're going to go to the card deck other. We're going to do the go deck, and we're going to pull that go deck up. You can actually do a small deck or a large deck. I did the small deck. I'm going to go back to the eTools, and I'm going to go to the stop deck now. And I'm just going to pull that stop deck up as well. So now I've got my go cards. I'm going to shuffle them. And I have my stop deck. I'm going to shuffle those too. Okay, and here's what happens. The go person will go first, okay? So if you take a look at the game mat, you're going to see that the go person should be going first, and you're always going to start with 20 as your add-in. So 20 plus, and then we'll see based on our toolkit what we are going to add to 20. So we're going to deal. So we're going to add 7 to 20. So let me go back to that game mat. And I'm going to simply click on the T for text because we want to type in that box. And we're going to add 7. So I type 7 there. So 20 plus 7, what does that equal? Capture the high number, add the lower number. Oh, 27, right? So I type 27 there. Awesome, right? So the sum of 20 plus 7 is 27. So the go player is done with their turn. And what we do is it's the stop player's turn. So the stop player takes that sum and places it in the first box, 27. We're going to go back to that toolkit and we're going to deal -0. Now, this is bad news for the stop because remember, the stop is trying to get that go to get back to 0. So, unfortunately, the stop person isn't really taking anything away from 27, right? When we take 0 away from a number, it stays the same, right? So, 27 will go in this box here. Now, hopefully you do it a little bit better than me there, but we're going to take that difference and we're going to bring it here. So we'll put 27 at the beginning of the addition number model. We're going to go back to that toolkit and we're going to deal again. Wow, plus 20. That's excellent, right? So I'm going to go back to this activity box and I'm going to type 20 into that box. Wow, that's excellent. So 27 plus 20 more. Well, when I add 10 to 27, that's 37. So if I add 10 more, 47. Oh my goodness, I'm so close to 50, right? So that go person is really, really close, right? So the object of the game, as I said before, is for the go person to get to 50 first. So I'm only how many away? 3, you're right. So the stop person would go next. You would continue the process. And like I said, whoever gets to, if go gets to 50 first, then the go player wins. If the stop person gets that go person all the way back to 0, then the stop person wins. Okay? Does that sound like a good plan? Awesome. So from here, I'd actually like to take a look back at this here. And then you can engage in some math box activities as well if you click here. Now we're actually going to skip over this first one because it says how tall is your teacher's desk, and unfortunately right now we're not in school, so we're going to skip to the next one, okay? And maybe you'll decide to tell me by adding 10, what would be the answer here? Adding 10 to 50. Oh, 60, that's right. So when I add 10 to 50, I know that that answer is 60. And any answers that you want to save, all you have to do is hit this icon down here, the circle with the arrow in it, and it'll save all the answers for your teacher. Or maybe you want to subtract 10 from 70 and tell your teacher what that answer is as well. Okay, again, just adding it there. Continuing on with that math box. What is the value of 9 and 89? So let's think about what place that digit 9 holds in 89. And then in this box, you will simply type what the value is of that digit 9, right? And submitting all those answers right there, okay? If I go back here, the last and final thing that we can take a look at is that home link. Okay, and this is just a good review of what we were talking about in our lesson today, that word attributes. So sitting here and just being able to tell me a little bit about your shape. You can type it right in the box. You can tell me the shape, right? You can tell me what color it is. You can tell me the thickness of the shape. You can tell me whether it's a large shape or a small shape. You can tell me how many sides or how many corners the shape has. So you can do that. And remember, just save it right here. So I hope you learned a little bit about attributes of shapes, and I hope you learned that Stop and Go is a great game that you can play to help you practice adding two-digit numbers together. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and thanks again for watching.